Thank you, everyone. We wanted to talk a bit about the moving contact in the CHT using user management tool. In many scenarios, field operation require relocation contact within the CHT hierarchy. And this could mean moving household from one another, from one CHW area to another one, or reassigning some supervisor to a new manager, or some kind of this kind of moving. And currently, moving contacts is a bit complex. The user has to manually identify and handle contact IDs, okay, and determine exactly the new destination ID, and then execute a CHT command to move the contact from a parent or from a destination to another destination. And this approach is a bit challenging for not technical users, and sometimes it can create barrier for everyday tasks. So the goal here is to make this process more user-friendly. So the user management tool actually is designed as a simple user-facing interface that leverages the CHT API, okay, to manage contacts and users efficiently. So instead of manually handling IDs and using command line stuff, the tool let us actually define a contact hierarchy and destination by selecting names and location from an intuitive UI. So for this move contact feature that we are talking about, user can search for and select for a contact they want to move and pick them, and then choose also the destination. So the tool then handles all the technical steps like generating the necessary command to run in the background and executing it in the cloud. So this saves many time and makes the tool accessible for non-technical users, and then making contact reassignment far simpler and more efficient. So I'll be making a quick demo to first of all introduce the tool and then show how we can move contact directly in the tool. So this is the UI of the user management tool, and how it works. Basically, like I said, for example, let's say we want to create a new supervisor area. We'll be entering the hierarchy. Like the supervisor area has a sanitary training above this level, and we'll be now entering the contact that will be used as a primary contact. And then from these primary contact, we'll be, generating the username and password. And we'll be entering all these details. And then while trying to save, we'll be now redirect to a new UI like here. Let me just, sorry. I think my server just got down. Let me just, sure. I changed network, so some of my server go down. So let me just, it's okay now. Nice. Sure. Okay, so let me come back here. I think it's good now. Sure. Okay. So like I was saying, we'll be just choosing a sanitary training and the name, test, name quickly, and then okay. So how it works is that once you type all these, it can be from a spreadsheet that you upload. We have a section, a step where you validate all that you have put, all the entries that you set. And then you can see that we have a central train that exists, and this is why it is blue. And then we have the contact details. And from these details, we'll be generating, while uploading, the user that need to be connected. After a while, you will generate its credential. Okay, so this is the same vision we want to bring into the move contact feature. So let's get it done. When we want to move, let's say this supervisor area. So let me first share a bit about my hierarchy here. I have this follow-up area that is a managing area that is managing two sanitary trainings area. So in these sanitary areas, I have many supervision areas, okay? And let's say that with this sanitary area have this number of supervision area because at the time we have not that much supervision or sanitary training. So at the time we have a new that is added and it is called Marvel Sanitary Area. So we want to move some supervision here area to the new sanitary training area by keeping exactly the data, the docs, all that it has done in the past, the different posts, the different household, and all the different work it has, and migrate all these to the new sanitary training area. So we want to be able to do the same thing in the user management tool, not by this time not dealing with the IDs. Okay, so we'll be choosing first the sanitary training area, which is called Jupyter, and I will just be typing. Okay, and then I will now search for the supervision area I want to move. Let's say it is George area, and I'll be entering George's area. And then I will now choose the destination sanitary training area, which is Marvel sanitary area. And then I will just type in it here. See? So once I have this type, I can now proceed to the move. And it's tell me that the move has been scheduled and it can take up to 24 hours. So we have a board directly integrated in the tool that allow us to see ongoing tasks, like ongoing job that is being executed. So here we see that we have the queue that is called move contact queue. And then we have different steps, like we have called status of the jobs, like defining the different status of the job that we have. And we can see for every job that is being running, the details and also the logs, the data and their current status. So what is being done is that the tool will be doing some check-ins. Okay, so it will be checking with the instance, the server, to see if it is available, if the Sentinel backlog is not so high, because we don't want to overwhelm the server. So if it is high, then it will move the job into delayed, like adding delayed it for 4 hours. And after 4 hours, it will retry and it will try it till we have a good bandwidth with the server to proceed with the move. Okay, so when this is done, when the job is proceed, it will move into a completed status. And then after that, we can check again to see that, okay, these currently this George area has been moved from this Jupyter sanitary area to Marvel sanitary area. Okay, so let me just uh, make it work here. I will just start the worker to proceed. So one thing that I wanted to tell here is that we have a different worker that is like coupled with the user management tool that take all the job that are be added to the queue. And this is why you have seen that when I didn't started the worker, the job was in a waiting state. But right now I just started it and it passed, if you notice, it passed from active to completed. And now you can see that my job for like the job for moving George areas from Jupyter sanitary area to Marvel sanitary area have been completed. And it tells when it has been added, the time that it takes, and the process when it started working on it. So we can just double check here and see that in Jupyter sanitary area, we don't have the George area no more. And if you go back to Marvel, we have George area here added with the different village. We have the different CHT posts with the different household exactly like it was, and with the different household members, all the document has been moved, and we can see different logs to see, oh, okay, how the job has been processed, and if we have some issue, all of these issue or errors are logged directly into the board so that the managers can have more, understanding on what is being done. Okay, so this is how we manage to implement this feature directly in the user management tool. So with that being said, we've kind of have some challenges and some next steps that we wanted to work on this tool. The first, like you can realize, while we wanted to move the different contacts, we you take them one by one, okay? And this can be a bit tedious if you have many contacts to move. So we want to allow multiple contacts to be moved at once, possibly by uploading a spreadsheet when we will specifying the source contact and then the destination that will catch this contact. Also, we wanted to handle the non-login user contacts. Like here, currently, uh, the user management tool has been built in the vision to handle users account, like contact that have user account, user credential. But we want to take it forward one step ahead and expand the support to support contact that don't need a user account, such as household, so that we can be able to move this kind of contact directly in the user management tool. And also, we want to be able to handle more effectively the failing, like when some job, because of the server unavailability, the job takes too much to be executed, and then after that it fails. We want to handle this kind of scenario better and handle and make the tool more user friendly, so that our partners and different users of this tool should feel more comfortable. So this is a bit sum up a brief presentation of this feature, moving contact feature in the user management tool.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for the presentation. We'll just pause if anyone from the audience has any questions to the Paul regarding any of these. You can
Hey, Paul.
unmute. Yeah, go ahead.
I had a question. This is really great to see. Excellent demo. I think this is the first time I've seen you demonstrate it, so that's great to see. I had a question about workflow coming up from the field, so from a CHW or CHV that wants to make a request. Is there a workflow, or is that not yet there because you don't have the feature to move households?
Yeah. So currently the tool does not support moving household because the household don't need a user account. But we are working on it, and it will be ready very soon so that we can support non-login user contacts such as household and different hierarchy, also like villages, to another area. And we are working on it to make it really, really easy and feasible. Sure.
So right now, the workflow for moving a logged in user on their device is, do they request it on their device, or does their manager request it to an online admin?
Okay. So currently only the managers who have access to the tool can make the move. So I suppose that would be some escalation from the different hierarchy they have, so that these requests come up to the managers so that they can move these. One thing also is that you can also see the level, like you can only move contact that you have access to. If you are in a hierarchy and you cannot access the supervision area, for example, you cannot move it. And the user management tool handle this basically. So you cannot see the contact till going to move it. Yeah.
So the online accounts that log in to use the user management tool use the same login and password from the CHT, and based off of their hierarchy in the CHT, they can't see any online user or logged in users outside of their hierarchy view.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Thank you, Paul. Does anyone have any other questions to Paul?
Yes, Niraj, a quick one. Thank you, Paul, for the presentation. In terms of widget support, so does it, is the tool part of the widgets in the CHT, or you have, because I was quickly looking at the version that we have and I've not seen it. So maybe just a quick on. Thank you.
Thank you. It's not directly integrated in the CHT. It's just a tool apart that works together, that manage the different calls to the CHT. Yeah, but it's not directly integrated into.
Thank you.
Thank you, Philip. Any other questions to Paul?
Maybe, Paul, it would be nice as one of the to-do thing is to integrate so that you have everything in one-stop shop rather than having, you can imagine, it would be nice to add it as a third to-do list. Thank you.
Thank you. Sure.
Do we also have documentation of moving contact in CST using user management tool, Paul, or this is not something we have already? If somebody wants to follow along after this round of call.
We had some quick videos, but we work more on a good, clear documentation, and we share it very soon from on the forum and also on our GitHub repository. Thank you.
Yeah, Niraj, just to add on that, we just have documentation for configuration, but as Paul has said, we'll work on that for the actual moving.
Sure. For now, maybe anyone who is interested can put their problems in the forum and then follow up, right? And then we'll just support them. Okay.
Hi, everyone. Well, the CAR Teams focus group has been working on a couple of features. The first one is about cybersecurity. System admins often create user accounts and keep the spreadsheet of their credentials. So to enhance the security of these accounts, we are developing the feature that you can see here, which allows users to change their password on the first login and when the system admin resets their password. The user will be able to access the app after changing their password. That feature will be enabled by default, but can be opt out by configuring the permissions. And then the second feature is about training cards. So after deploying the training cards feature to introduce the new workflow to over 10,000 CHWs, we received feedback about CHWs needing a way to easily revisit their training content. So we are developing what you see here, which is a new page that can be found in the hamburger menu of CHT. And this page will display a list of training content that has been assigned to the CHW with an indication to whether this training has been completed or not. That's the green check that you see in the screen. And with this, now CHW can access any of the new or previous trainings as many times as they need. Yeah, this is what we have been working lately.
Quick one, Jennifer. Let's go back to a slide on cybersecurity. So what would happen? Like, are we also thinking of adding a workflow where in case a CHW forgets the password, they could be able to reset that?
That might come in the future, but not in this iteration. This feature is just to automatically prompt for a password change when password had been set by a system admin, very much. But yeah, that's something that we've been talking before, but it's not for this release in the future.
Maybe on the same, Jennifer. So like in most of our configurations, we restrict Ws from changing the password. So once they log in, then they cannot log out because of challenges of, I forgot my password, and many other experiences we've had. So in a case where the prompting comes, I don't know how that would work. What do you think?
Some CHW will need training, for sure. But that's why we also add a permission where the projects or the deployments have the option to opt out. However, we still recommend to leave it there, especially because we don't want password to be leaked in the internet or something like that. So it's better investment probably to train the CHWs on how to set a password that is secure enough that they can remember or have it somewhere safe, that having them in a spreadsheet or something like that can be more dangerous in the future, especially because most of the projects are dealing with quite sensitive information.
Jennifer, is there any documentation or forum post that people can look into to follow along? Maybe we can just put it on chat. Okay.
Yes, yeah, we made a couple of forum posts, and once we release this, we also will release with some documentation that will help explaining the features and also how to configure them.
Great, thank you.
Hello, everyone. Cool. So target docs. Target docs are used right now to store target calculations. So targets are basically configurable nuggets that will count how many forms have been submitted that satisfy some criteria. These are used for performance analytics in dashboards and by supervisors. But initially, they were not stored anywhere. They were ephemeral and they only existed on the client's device, along with tasks. So these are both products of the rules engine, which what we call, this encapsulated rules collection for tasks and targets that allow users to allow most of the workflows in the CHT. So in phase one, they were ephemeral. They were stored in the device memory. They were recalculated every time the users opened the device. They were not submitted anywhere on the server. So it was extremely complicated to debug because you would either have to have access to the device that had the error, or the error had to be easily reproducible on another device, which was not the case. So it was basically opaque what tasks and what targets each user is seeing. It was impossible to know without actually seeing the device. And along with that, a lot of the workflows required checking. So what happened was dashboards had calculations in queries in order to follow a workflow, so that the calculation of a task or a target was done both on the client device and in the analytics dashboard, which is Postgres at the time. So in CHT 3.8, we decided that we needed to store tasks and targets to disk. So this was the first iteration of actually persisting these documents. Two types of documents have appeared. The task document, which every task has a task document, and the targets document, which is a single document per user per month that contains their target calculation. We didn't actually have any workflow that required accurate targets. And this made it so we decided that for performance reasons, we would not keep this document up to date. So we decided to only recalculate the targets document and store the updated version of the targets document once a day. And this only happened if the user did one of the two things. They either have to visit the targets page or they had to visit the tasks page. this was not a problem initially because, as I said, there was no workflow that required accurate target documents. We usually wanted to see target documents for past months, and gradually we started having workflows that required that use target documents. I think there was an integration with DHIS2 that used target documents. We added a target aggregates page which used target documents, but neither of these had an expectation for, neither of these were super critical and had an expectation of perfectly accurate targets. This meant that there were some edge cases where targets could become inaccurate. For example, if a user logged in on September 27th and visited a contact and submitted a report that would have been calculated, like would have bumped a target count, but they didn't actually visit the targets or the task page. They just closed down their phone and they opened it up again on October 3rd, so in the next month. That would mean that the report that they submitted on the 27th wouldn't actually be counted in their targets document. So this, for critical workflows where this document makes or breaks, you know, your workflow, this becomes a really big problem. And up until now, these workflows didn't exist, but they do now. So in phase 3, which is CHT 4.13, we kind of stopped optimizing, micro-optimizing, I would say, for recalculating target documents. And we also changed how we recalculate tasks, because they are actually, as I said, this is like a little cluster of rules. You can't calculate one without the other. So we changed how we calculate task and target documents. Instead of doing these recalculation based on, you know, these user actions that weren't actually communicated to anyone, like you'd have to, it's esoteric information that you actually have to visit this page in order to trigger some calculation, which nobody knew. Like developers like me knew, but actual users of the app do not know this information. Right now in CHT 4.13, tasks and targets get recalculated immediately after the user has submitted a form, deleted a form, created a contact, doesn't matter. So everything happens in the background immediately after. Targets are updated all the time, if there are changes, of course. Like we don't rewrite the same document with the same content. This means that the app might behave a little bit differently, because, for example, if the user would make lots of changes, they would submit many forms, many forms. They would accumulate kind of like a backlog of task and target recalculations that they would have to go through when they triggered the action to recalculate. This would, for example, in CHT 4.12, it would be viewing the task page. So when they view the task page, they would take a long time to churn all of that backlog. But in CHT 4.13, when a user submits a form, in the background, the device will recalculate all of the tasks and targets that have been affected by that submission. So this means that there is some ongoing load on the device as the users do their workflows, but then the pages that actually display tasks and targets will load much faster. So the workload is the same, it's just differently distributed. There still are some edge cases where targets might not get recalculated correctly. For example, if somebody submits a form and then before everything gets recalculated, they close the app, throw their phone away, and then log in on a different device the next month. So this is data loss 101. So the whole recalculation isn't bulletproof, like it doesn't fix any and every scenario, but most like the regular working scenarios where I submitted a form and then I kept using the app for 10 seconds or something and didn't immediately close everything, we wouldn't see target documents lagging back and missing counts. That's it. Any questions, please?
So just a quick question, Diana. So for anyone who wants to have this new targets improvement, they just need to update to version 4, the 13
Correct.
or higher, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Hello, I'm Ashley Jones. I'm a technical product owner and I'm based in the United States. And we've made some recent documentation updates as well as updates to scripts that I wanted to review. So Docker-compose is Docker Compose v1, and the upstream project has had no updates since July of 2023. So it's formally deprecated and you should not be using v1 Docker-compose anymore. Docker space compose, which is v2, is now current in all versions of Docker Desktop and on the Docker command line if you've installed it on a Linux desktop or Linux server. So this is just to frame the context that v1 Docker-compose is very deprecated and you should upgrade. And I wanted to talk about what that means in the context of the CHT. A common use for Docker and the CHT is to run the Docker helper. This is a developer-friendly script that sets up an instance of the CHT for you. And right now, if you're on old Docker Compose and you go and get the latest version of the CHT core, which you should be doing, that's the point of this talk, is you'll get an error that when you run it, that your Docker Compose is not found. And that's because you're running an old version that's calling Docker-compose. So just to illustrate what this looks like outside of the context of the CHT, if you call Docker space compose and you don't have it installed, then you're going to get this error. So I think I have maybe one more slide and then we'll do a demo. So there's an alternate scenario where if maybe you have a very new version of Docker space compose, you're on Docker compose v2, but yet you haven't updated your version of CHT core. So the point is you need to make sure that these are both progressing upward to the latest versions. We can't quite defend against this because you're running code that was written before Docker space compose really was a thing. And so you will still get an error, and this is what it'll look like. So I'll go ahead and give a quick demo just so folks can see what this looks like. And I'll share my screen. All right, so here is 2 VMs that I've set up. And on this top one, it has an old version of the CHT, but it has a new version of Docker Compose. And on this bottom one, it has a new version of the CHT, but has an old version of Docker Compose. So let's go into the new version of CHT and an old version of Docker Compose. So right now I'm trying to run the Docker helper, and I have an old version of the old version of Docker Compose. So when I call this, right away, it's going to check and say, whoa, 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 you don't have what we need, which is Docker space compose. So the fix here is to go upgrade Docker Desktop or Docker on the command line to ensure that you're running the most recent version. And then if we switch back to the other VM, so now we have a old version of the CHT, but we've installed a new version of Docker Compose. When I call this with an existing environment that I'd like to instantiate, you can see that right away it's going to say, sorry, this won't work. And in this case, the fix is very easy because I just need to upgrade my CHT to the new version. So for this demonstration, I checked out CHT 4.0 or 4.01 or something. So if I just go ahead and check out the most recent version, and now I'm current. So now when I run the exact same command again, you'll see that it's going to start up the Docker helper and try to start my instance. So this is just a public service announcement to please keep everything up to date. It's important to be compatible, and that all of Medic has done this with all of our documentation and all of our scripts that use Docker. So update.
So with the newer version of CHT, does it mean like any version with the CHT 4.x or?
Yeah, the latest version of CHT. And Edwin, I see your hands up.
Yes, please. Thank you. I just need a small clarification. You said Docker Compose, a new version, works hand in hand with the new version of the CHT. Okay. That's the clarification I wanted because I also kind of faced that sometime. But thank you for that.
No problem.
Hi, everyone. My name is Maria Chana Moturi. I'm a technical writer here at Medic, and I'm just going to give a short update of the work that's going on the doc site. So if you've been on the doc site recently, you've noticed that we've changed a couple of the names, like this on the left side, what's usually on the navigation, some of those names. And what we're trying to do is to compile all features or all similar concepts into one section so that it's easier for you to find those pages if you're trying to find them, and you don't have to keep going into different sections like the tutorials or the features or the guides to find exactly what you're trying to look for. And then it will make it easy for anyone who wants to contribute because you will know where to put your documentation. And how they've been subdivided is really just how this life cycle of the CHT. So whether you're building, whether you're hosting, whether you're designing, or whether you're implementing. So that's how the sections have been subdivided. It will also help to reduce repetition. So we had some documentation that was appearing in different sections, but really it was just communicating the same thing. So this is what you're expecting to see. For example, the hosting section is pretty much done. So everything under hosting, if it's monitoring, if it's hosting 4X, upgrading, all those items are under the hosting section. And what used to be called applications or CHT applications is now called building. And it involves all development work. If you're building forms, if you're building tasks, all those items, you'll find them under building. So please provide feedback if you find any difficulties or if you want us to improve on anything.
Hi, everyone. My name is Phil Moago. I am a technical product owner within the Ecosystem Focused Working Group, and I'll be talking about how we improved our dashboards. So a couple of roundups ago, I talked about how we have been working on making our dashboards more reliable and scalable. The feature is called CHT Sync. So I mentioned it's production ready, and I think one of the most important things here would be a migration path for our partners who actually own, who already have the CHT deployed. So I wanted to announce that we have a technical webinar. So we have a technical webinar on Thursday, 28th November. That's about 2 weeks from now. Yeah, it's at 1 p.m. GMT. So we'll cover a couple of things. This includes an overview of CHT Sync. We'll cover the data is actually data is transferred from all the way from Couch to CouchDB to Postgres, and how that works. We'll talk about how to implement it. We have 0 to implementation if you have a new an implementation or a migration or from Couch to PG, also showcasing why it's better. So the audience here is actually developers. We'll have a demo, a technical session where we showcase how all this works. So I'll share a link here. If you're interested, you can register. We will share this poster on socials and also on the forum. That's it for me.